it's kind of tough to judge Jalen Hurts on the practice field. That is not where Jalen Hurts, at least as per under the restraints he was last year with the Eagles, and we expect them to be much the same since they're continuing to show that they don't want to risk anybody's health in any kind of a practice situation. Length of practice, intensity of practice, practice just period. So judging Jalen Hurts and what his improvement level in this season is going to be a really tough thing to do until the season starts. And good morning, Birds fans. A Tuesday edition of Birds 365 here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. Feel free to go ahead and hit the like. Since you're here early, beat the crowd, beat the rush. Hit that like button as we get another show underway here. John McMullen, Jody McDonald, and a couple of good guests. I think today's show is going to be a good one. A couple of guys who we've had on previously and almost always bring it when they join us today. We'll bring it for you for the next 2 hours here on Birds 365. JM, we're going to start today where we start way too many shows, but I guess you have to. And that would be the quarterback position. We know what the Eagles are dealing with coming into this season. It's kind of Jalen Hurts or bust, and some are more optimistic than others. It really is a major swing between those who think that the Eagles have their quarterback of the future and those who think the season has already got no chance to end up in any significant results because the Eagles just don't have a top-ranked quarterback in Jalen Hurts. Can he become that? That's the key question. What is Jalen Hurts' room for improvement coming into the season? And I was on JAKIBSports.com and saw your latest missive. And you made an excellent point in that it's kind of tough to judge Jalen Hurts on the practice field. That is not where Jalen Hurts, at least as per under the restraints he was last year with the Eagles, and we expect them to be much the same since they're continuing to show that they don't want to risk anybody's health in any kind of a practice situation. Length of practice, intensity of practice, practice just period. So judging Jalen Hurts and what his improvement level in this season is going to be a really tough thing to do until the season starts, unless you're going to go down the road of, hey, they're 4-0 in joint practices, and that's going to be the key to judging the improvement in Jalen Hurts. How are we going to know if the quarterback is any better before the season starts?
It's going to be difficult. You know, you're going to hear about joint practices because that's what it is. I mean, you can only report what's going on. But I do remember, and we had Emery Hunt on yesterday, and he sort of jogged my memory to this. It was in one of those joint practices against New England. I remember the Eagles were working on red zone offense. So the Patriots, obviously, their red zone defense was on the field, and he was flushing right, which he often does, probably a little bit too often. Doesn't like to go to his left as much, but and you know, it's practice. And the quarterbacks, in the case of the Eagles, have the red jerseys on, and you know you got to protect them at all costs. So as he's extending the play, which is really one of the biggest strengths of Jalen Hurts' ability as a quarterback,
Sure.
The whistle blows. You know, play wasn't over from his standpoint. And I always say Jalen's pretty much unflappable. If you've ever met him, you know, he doesn't get upset about too many things. But on this particular rep, he fired the football into the ground. He was clearly frustrated because in his mind, he knew the play wasn't over. But it's practice. In a game, you're going to let it go. In practice, you're not going to let it go because the official made the right decision at practice. You're there to protect the quarterback. You're there to make sure nothing happens from that perspective. And, you know, after both Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, we asked them about it, and they gave this explanation. I'm going to be honest, Jody. I rolled my eyes at the time. I'm like, come on, you know, because, you know, Jalen was very uneven in training camp last year. There were some good days, some bad days, certainly some accuracy issues. And, you know, it sounded like an excuse. Well, after watching the season, It wasn't an excuse. It wasn't. He's not a practice player. He really isn't, because you're always going to blow that stuff dead. And they're going to blow it dead this year. And you're not going to get a feel for what he can do, even in these pseudo live reps, because they're not live reps. And he can't, and that's what Emery said, you can't fake live. And it's different with a quarterback like Jalen Hurts than, say, a Tom Brady or somebody that you can get a feel for what Tom's doing, and very surgical. He's not extending many plays. He's certainly not going to flush right and keep looking and looking and looking and looking. So it is something just to throw in the mix. And, it was proven. What Jalen said and what Nick Sirianni said was proven to be correct. There are times in practice where he is not allowed to show what he can do, and that makes it more difficult to evaluate him in practice.
If you didn't catch yesterday's interview that we did with Emery Hunt, we'd never had him on before. John was able to reach out and get him to agree to come on the show yesterday. He did a really good job with us from footballgameplan.com. I'd never spoken to Emery before, and he did a real nice spot with us yesterday. But he said one thing that just flat out floored me. I thought I was one of the biggest Jalen Hurts fans in town going back to the night that the Eagles called his name in the second round of the draft. Because let's be honest, I would say about 98% of the people here in Philadelphia, Eagle fans, quasi-Eagle fans, diehard Eagle fans, all in one big group, did not like the pick of Jalen Hurts. Most were ready to run Howie Roseman out of town. How can you select a quarterback in the second round when you've just given all this money to Carson Wentz? We have our quarterback. We've got holes. How can you use this stupid factory quarterback that is the Philadelphia Eagles? They think they're – that was the overwhelming sentiment of Eagle fans when they took Jalen Hurts in the second round. I was one of what I thought was very few who thought, I got no problems with the pick. They need a backup quarterback anyway. I think he's fair value in the second round. If they like the kid, it's not a bad pick because he'll be their backup quarterback. I was one of very few who said that. Well, my fandom of Jalen Hurts pales in comparison to that of Emery Hunt. He said with us here yesterday that, yes, he had Joe Burrow ranked as the number one quarterback in the draft. He had Jalen Hurts second. There were two quarterbacks taken in between Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow, named Tua Tagovailoa at number 5 and Justin Herbert at number 6. And, oh, by the way, I'm a big Tua fan. Herbert has already established himself as one of the best young quarterbacks in the league.
Oh, yeah.
And Jalen Hurts, we're still trying to figure out if he can play quarterback in the league. And everyone on record is saying that he had Hurts ranked as the second best quarterback in the draft. Well, I guess I hate Jalen Hurts then, because if you compare me to what Emery said, that's not even close, not even the same ballpark. He thinks this kid's going to be a superstar, got a chance to be better than Mr. Herbert.
Well, I think at this stage you have to admit you were wrong about Justin Herbert. I mean, it's okay. There were questions about Justin Herbert coming into that draft, but not to the significant level that he was going to fall outside the top 10 or anything of that nature. So, I mean, that's just a miss, and Emery does this every year, and he's right. You can go to footballgameplan.com and get his draft stuff, and he had him number 2 and all that kind of stuff. So it's not revisionist Chip Kelly history where I had Odell Beckham Jr. is the best player in the draft, which nobody did. So that's number 1. Tua, I think there were some extenuating circumstances in the fact that he had that serious injury. So there was the hip injury. So there were some real issues with him from a health standpoint. So, maybe you factor that into it. And then I think Jordan Love was later. Was there anybody else in that first round, Jody? I don't think so. I think it was Jordan Love I think it was 4. better than Jordan Love. So, I mean, when you really think about it, it's, the only one he wildly swinged and missed on was Justin Herbert, who, I freely admit I have a man crush on Justin Herbert. If you gave me the ability to pick any quarterback, I'd pick Mahomes, and again, I'm talking long term. I would pick Mahomes because of what he's done, what he's accomplished, his talent. But boy, I'd wring my hands a little bit when I start thinking about the upside of Justin Herbert. That's how much I like him as a player. And again, I'm talking long term, so I'm not talking the Aaron Rodgers, the Tom Brady's, and all those. I really, really like him as a player. I like him more than Joe Burrow, and I like Joe Burrow. Um, and we'll see how it shakes out. I don't see how you look at those two particular players, Justin Herbert and Jalen Hurts, and say one's got a chance to be better than the other, and the answer is not Justin Herbert. But you know, everybody's got their sort of. I'm kind of the same way with Herbert. Like I'm talking about him in the same conversation with Mahomes. Very few people would do that. So you do kind of fall in love with prospects. The game is changing to where, and we just kind of talked about it, where the ability to extend plays and do off schedule stuff is more important. And obviously, Jalen Hurts does that better than just about anybody not named Lamar Jackson. So that might factor into it as well. But yeah, I mean, Emery's got to live. Emery's got to live with that one. I mean, Justin Herbert is just, that is a superstar level talent in my book. Everybody else, hey, Jalen's already better than Jordan Love. I mean, he lapped Jordan Love. And Tua, I know you're a big Tua fan, and
Yeah.
he's going to have every opportunity because the Dolphins, sort of with Jalen, they're sort of in the exact same space in that they built up around him. They've gotten him weapons. Same thing with Jalen Hurts. So let's throw the footballs out there and see who's better. Obviously, the majority of scouts believe Tua has a much higher skill level. We'll see. I mean, it's closer than I thought it would be. I will say that, Jody.
Yeah, I think Tua's going to have a bust out year this year. He actually is more accurate than Patrick Mahomes, according to a key wide receiver who played with Mahomes and now is practice with. Except we just
Yeah.
learned you can't learn anything from practice, depending on, I guess, who's running the practice. Maybe the Dolphins have a different way of doing their practice. Still am, continue to be a huge Tua Tagovailoa fan, and I think he's going to have a bust out year. But it doesn't mean Jalen Hurts can't have a very good year for the Philadelphia Eagles here. We're just not going to know about it until game 1, game 2, game 3, game 4.
Yeah.
He's not going to play in preseason. We already know that. Last year, never saw the field when he was the Eagles starting quarterback. So don't bank on those 3 preseason games opening up your eyes for what Jalen Hurts can do. It's just not going to happen. I hope they hit the ground running. They have added to the talent level around him. We know they've got arguably the best offensive line in all of football. I just hope Jalen Hurts hits the ground running because much like the Eagles, Jalen Hurts needs to get off to a good start. The schedule says the Eagles can and should get off to a very good start, which means Jalen Hurts should get off to a good start as well.
And I will say one thing Emery noted as well, and this has proven to be right. The way he goes about his business, the work ethic, the leadership, the intangible stuff, it's off the charts with Jalen Hurts. And I always say, you probably heard me. This is our 306 show. You probably heard me say this, Jody, at least 306 times. Player development is real. So, it doesn't stop when you draft Jordan Love or Tua and say, okay, we got a good player or we got a bad player. You got to develop that player. One thing that Jalen Hurts is going to do, and what Emery said is going to do, he's humble. He's gonna listen to what he needs to work on, and he's going to work on it. So that development aspect of it, these guys have more talent, but that doesn't mean they're going to end up to be better players. In the case of Burrow and Herbert, it is. But I mean, you know, talent wins out in the end. And those guys are just super, super talented. But then when you start to go to that second tier, then it starts to be all right, who works harder? Who does what it needs to do? Who has those intangibles? Jalen has those intangibles more than anybody else I've come across as a young quarterback. Anybody. And I mean anybody. Typically, when you're talking about young quarterbacks, and I'll say this about Burrow and Herbert, I don't get to be around them, obviously. But that's the kind of stuff I worry about. Like, obviously, they have the talent. Now, Joe Burrow's been to the Super Bowl already. He's Joe Cool. He's Joe Namath now, right? He's everybody's. Is he going to come back with the same desire and the same work ethic to be at the same level? Is Justin Herbert, when everybody like John McMullen is blowing smoke up his you know what and telling him how great he is he going to still do everything necessary to be that great? I don't know. I know Jalen Hurts is going to do it. I don't know that about many young quarterbacks.
I think you have to have a grasp of it before you ever call out his name on draft day. I think that's a team's major responsibility, and I believe the Eagles factored that in. And taking Jalen Hurts in the second round, he was as good as a leader and a motivator of teammates and men. I think you can get a pretty good grasp of that. You don't have a full grasp of it until you get him into your huddle, until you get him into your locker room. But you can do some pretty good scouting on that and know that.
Well, I agree. But what I'm trying to say is, like, he's elite in that. And people don't typically talk about, like, they'll talk about elite arm talent or they'll talk about elite processing skills. And he doesn't have that. But he's got elite intangibles. You never hear that because people don't think you can judge it correctly. I think when you see it, at least you could judge it correctly. And, you know, little stuff like I'm being serious here, Jody. I've never heard of a quarterback anywhere. And I've been around some great quarterbacks, some Hall of Fame quarterbacks. I've never heard of somebody saying, oh, so it's Devin Allen comes in as, you know, if he's not the 80th or 88th or 89th man on the roster, he's close to it. And Jalen Hurts is there texting him, welcoming to the team. Defensive players that he has nothing to do with. Might even go a full day not seeing them because, you know, everything's so compartmentalized in the NFL. Offense works with the offense. Defense works with the defense. You're in your room, positional room. They're in their positional room. You don't see each other on the field until you're doing one-on-one ones and getting the reps and on the practice field. He sort of embraces everybody. I've never seen it before. It's elite, and people don't talk about intangibles being elite.
And if you've got them, you need to flaunt them. And Jalen Hurts does, and good for him. We need to see the actual ability on the field. Leadership is great. Working with teammates is great. Being able to rally your teammates is a key aspect of being a quarterback. But then on 3rd and 3, you got to be able to hit the guy in the hands and move the chains and keep the drive going.
You got to produce. But all I'm trying to say, I hope I'm getting it across correct. All I'm trying to say is if you have those intangibles and you have that work ethic and you have that desire to be better and you're humble and you're willing to work on your deficiencies, there's a better chance that you improve those deficiencies than somebody who doesn't. And that's kind of what I'm talking about. If he doesn't have the talent to be a star quarterback in this league, he doesn't have the talent to be a star quarterback. We're going to learn that. And there's nothing you can do from that standpoint. But if it's, you know, the Eagles call it winning outside the margins. If it's that close, he's going to win outside the margins.
The Eagles are very good at playing outside the margins. All right, he's John McMullen. I'm Jody McDonald. We are Birds 365. Told you we've got two good guests joining us today. Tommy Lawler, Eagles blogger, eaglesblitz.com. He's been on with us before, been covering the Birds for many a year. He's going to hop aboard with us next. And then Brad Spielberger from Pro Football Focus and also overthecap.com going to come on. They've got some intriguing lists, and Brad was the guy who put out the one the other day. Best value deal in the National Football League, a Philadelphia Eagle player. We'll talk to Brad about that a little bit later. But Tommy Lawler, eaglesblitz.com, joins us next here on Birds 365.